long before the reign of Zeus and the Olympian gods, the cosmos was a place of chaos, ruled by powerful primordial beings that shaped the universe itself. From the swirling void of chaos, the very first entity, came the earliest forces of nature, elemental and raw, uncontrollable and vast. Out of chaos emerged Gaia, the earth, the nurturing mother of all life, and Uranus, the sky, her counterpart and protector, who stretched endlessly above her. Together, they formed the foundations of the ancient world. The union of Gaia and Uranus was the beginning of creation. Gaia, fertile and ever-giving, brought forth many children, starting with the primordial beings that represented the sea, the mountains, and the sky. But among her children were also the first powerful gods, the Titans, immense and mighty, beings of great strength and will, destined to play a pivotal role in the shaping of the universe. The Titans were 12 in total, 6 males and 6 females, each representing a different aspect of the cosmos. Cronus, the youngest and most ambitious of the Titans, was born with a fierce determination and desire for power. His siblings included Oceanus, the god of the vast seas, Hyperion, who represented light and the sun, Rhea, Cronus's future wife and queen of the Titans, and Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory. Together, these Titans represented the forces of nature and time, each playing a role in the balance of the universe. Yet, as Gaia continued to give birth to new beings, not all her children were as well formed as the Titans. Among her offspring were the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants of unparalleled strength, and the Hecatonchires, monstrous creatures with 50 heads and 100 hands. Uranus, repulsed by the sight of these monstrous children, cast them deep into the abyss of Tartarus, the darkest and most dismal part of the underworld, imprisoning them far from the surface of the earth. Gaia, devastated by Uranus's cruelty toward their children, became consumed with anger and resentment. She sought revenge against Uranus and conspired with her remaining offspring, the Titans. Gaia turned to Cronus, the most cunning and ambitious of her children, urging him to rise against his father and free his imprisoned siblings. Cronus, eager to seize power for himself, agreed to his mother's plan and took up a sickle fashioned from the hardest stone by Gaia herself. In the dead of night, as Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, Cronus ambushed him. With a swift, brutal strike, Cronus castrated Uranus, severing his father's power and dominion over the sky. Uranus's blood fell upon the earth, and from it sprang new life. The Furies, vengeful spirits born to punish those who committed heinous crimes, and the Giants, massive and formidable beings who would one day challenge the Olympian gods themselves. With Uranus's downfall, Cronus and the Titans were victorious. Cronus, now the ruler of the cosmos, claimed the throne for himself and ushered in a new age, the Golden Age, a time of peace and prosperity, where mortals lived in harmony with the gods. But even as Cronus ruled, a dark prophecy loomed over him, casting a shadow over his reign. Gaia had warned him that just as he had overthrown his father, so too would one of his own children rise up and overthrow him. Fearful of this prophecy, Cronus took drastic measures to ensure that none of his offspring would be able to challenge him. Every time his wife, Rhea, bore him a child, Cronus would swallow the newborn whole, imprisoning them in his stomach deep within his body, where they could pose no threat to him. One by one, his children, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, were consumed by their own father, trapped within his belly. Rhea, devastated by the loss of her children and desperate to save them, sought a way to protect her next child. When she became pregnant with her youngest son, Zeus, Rhea turned to Gaia for help. Together, they devised a plan to deceive Cronus and save the child who was destined to bring an end to his father's reign. On the day Zeus was born, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes and presented it to Cronus. In his arrogance and paranoia, Cronus did not suspect the trick. He swallowed the stone, believing it to be his newborn son, while Rhea secretly hid the real Zeus away in a cave on the island of Crete. There, the infant Zeus was raised in secret by the nymphs, protected by the Curettes, a group of warrior priests who danced and clashed their weapons to drown out the cries of the baby, so that Cronus would never hear him. The birth of Zeus marked the beginning of a new era, one that would eventually see the downfall of Cronus and the rise of the Olympian gods. As Zeus grew in strength and wisdom, he prepared to fulfill the prophecy and lead the revolt against his tyrannical father. With the help of powerful allies, including his imprisoned siblings and other divine beings, Zeus would wage a war that would shake the foundations of the cosmos and establish a new order, with the Olympians as the rulers of the heavens and the earth. The stage was set for an epic struggle between the old gods, the Titans, and the new gods, the Olympians. The birth of the Olympian gods would not only bring an end to the reign of the Titans, but also shape the mythology, culture, and beliefs of ancient Greece for millennia to come. This tale of power, betrayal, and destiny would forever influence the stories of gods and mortals alike, as the Olympian gods claimed their thrones and their place in the world. Chapter 1. The Rise of Cronus and the Fall of Uranus. In the primordial world, long before the Olympian gods ruled the heavens, the cosmos was governed by the mighty Titans, and at their head was Cronus, the youngest and most cunning of their number. But Cronus's ascent to power was not one of peaceful succession. It was a brutal, violent struggle, fueled by betrayal and fear. This chapter tells the story of how Cronus, with the aid of his mother Gaia, overthrew his father Uranus and claimed the cosmos for the Titans, only to be haunted by a dark prophecy that would shape the course of his reign. Cronus was born into a world dominated by his father, Uranus, the god of the sky. Uranus ruled with absolute authority, his vast form stretching over the earth, casting his shadow over all creation. He had taken Gaia, the earth goddess, as his consort, and together they gave birth to the Titans, beings of immense strength and power. But their union also produced other children, less fortunate in their form, the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants with unmatched strength, and the Hecatonchires, fearsome creatures with 50 heads and 100 hands. Uranus, horrified by the appearance of these monstrous offspring, cast them into the deepest part of Tartarus, imprisoning them in the darkest reaches of the underworld. Gaia, the nurturing mother of all life, was deeply pained by Uranus's cruelty toward their children. Her heart ached for the Cyclopes and Hecatonchires, who had been condemned to suffer in the black abyss of Tartarus. But Uranus was unrelenting, keeping a tight grip on his dominion and showing no mercy. Gaia's grief soon turned to anger, and she began to plot her revenge against her tyrannical husband. She knew that only one of her children would be strong enough to challenge Uranus, and she turned to Cronus, the most ambitious and ruthless of the Titans. Cronus, unlike his siblings, harbored a deep resentment toward Uranus. He despised his father's absolute control and longed for power himself. Gaia, sensing Cronus's ambition, approached him with a plan that would change the fate of the cosmos forever. She crafted a great sickle, forged from the hardest stone, and presented it to Cronus. With this weapon, she told him, he could sever his father's reign and free his brothers from the depths of Tartarus. Cronus, eager to seize the throne, agreed to his mother's plan. As night fell, Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, unaware of the treachery that awaited him. With his father distracted, Cronus leapt from his hiding place and struck Uranus with the sickle, castrating him in a single brutal blow. The blood of Uranus spilled across the earth, and from that blood sprang new life. The Furies, goddesses of vengeance, were born from the drops of blood, their existence tied to the punishment of those who committed crimes against family. The giants, colossal beings destined to challenge the gods, also emerged from the blood of Uranus, as did the Meliae, the nymphs of ash trees. Uranus, wounded and humiliated, withdrew from the earth, his power broken. His severed genitals were cast into the sea, and from the foam that formed around them, the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, was born. With Uranus's downfall, the reign of the Titans began, and Cronus assumed his place as the ruler of the cosmos. Cronus freed his fellow Titans from their father's shadow and took Rhea, his sister, as his wife and queen. Together, they ushered in the Golden Age, a time of peace and prosperity, where mortals lived in harmony with the gods and the earth provided abundant food and resources. Under Cronus's rule, there was no need for toil, and mankind lived without suffering. It seemed that Cronus had secured his place as the ruler of the universe, fulfilling Gaia's wishes by avenging his imprisoned siblings and deposing his tyrannical father. But even in the midst of this golden age, a shadow loomed over Cronus's reign. Before Uranus was overthrown, he had cursed Cronus, telling him that just as Cronus had betrayed his own father, one of his own children would rise up and overthrow him. This prophecy struck fear into Cronus's heart. He had seen how quickly power could be taken by force, and he was determined not to suffer the same fate as Uranus. When Rhea gave birth to their first child, Hestia, Cronus's paranoia consumed him. Fearing that this newborn might one day fulfill the prophecy, Cronus took the unthinkable step of swallowing his own daughter whole. He believed that if he kept his children within him, they could never rise up against him. And so, as each of his children was born, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, Cronus repeated this horrific act, swallowing each child as soon as they were delivered, imprisoning them inside his own body. Rhea, devastated by the loss of her children, grew increasingly desperate. When she became pregnant with her youngest child, she could not bear the thought of losing another to Cronus's insatiable fear. Desperate to save her last child, Rhea turned to Gaia for help. Together, they devised a plan to deceive Cronus and save the infant who would one day challenge him. When the time came for Rhea to give birth, she retreated to a hidden cave on the island of Crete, far from Cronus's watchful gaze. There, in secret, she gave birth to Zeus, the youngest of the Olympians, and the god who was destined to overthrow his father. In place of the newborn Zeus, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes and presented it to Cronus, who, unaware of the deception, swallowed the stone just as he had done with the rest of his children. Zeus, meanwhile, was hidden away on Crete, raised in secret by the nymphs and nurtured by the goat Amalthea, whose milk sustained him. to protect the infant god from Cronus's discovery, a group of warrior priests known as the Curates performed a constant dance around the cave, clashing their shields and weapons to drown out the sound of Zeus's cries. As Zeus grew in strength and wisdom, the prophecy loomed ever closer. The stage was set for a cosmic struggle, one that would see Cronus's fall and the rise of the Olympian gods. But for now, Zeus bided his time, waiting for the moment when he could challenge his father and free his siblings from their imprisonment. The overthrow of Uranus had marked the beginning of the reign of the Titans, but the downfall of Cronus was yet to come. The Titans, who had once seized power from the primordial beings, would soon face their own reckoning as the Olympians, led by Zeus, prepared to rise. And so, the cycle of power and betrayal would continue, shaping the destiny of gods and mortals alike. Chapter 2. The Childhood of Zeus. Hidden away on the island of Crete, deep in a cave nestled in the rugged mountains, the infant Zeus grew under the care of his protectors. His birth had been shrouded in secrecy, a last desperate attempt by his mother Rhea to save him from the fate that had befallen his siblings, swallowed whole by their father, Cronus, in a terrifying effort to prevent the fulfillment of a prophecy. This prophecy, uttered by Uranus, foretold that Cronus, like his own father before him, would be overthrown by one of his children. It was this fear that drove Cronus to commit the monstrous act of consuming each child born to him and Rhea, unaware that his youngest son had escaped this cruel fate. In the cave, far from Cronus's gaze, Zeus was nurtured in secret. His protectors were the Curates, warrior priests sworn to guard the child. They performed a sacred dance around the cave, their rhythmic clashing of swords and shields drowning out any sound that might betray the presence of the infant god. This constant noise ensured that Cronus would never hear the cries of his son and discover Rhea's deception. For the Curates, this was more than a protective duty. It was a ritual of great importance, a key part of ensuring the safety of the child who was destined to change the world. Zeus's other caretaker was the magical goat Amalthea, who provided him with her nourishing milk. Amalthea was no ordinary goat. She was believed to possess divine qualities, and her milk gave Zeus strength beyond that of any mortal or god. Under her care, the young Zeus thrived, his strength growing with each passing day. According to some legends, Zeus played rough even as a child, and once broke off one of Amalthea's horns, which became the cornucopia, or horn of plenty, a symbol of abundance that would later become associated with the god's generosity. Along with Amalthea, Zeus was also fed by the nymphs of Crete. These nymphs, gentle and nurturing, tended to his every need, ensuring that the young god grew strong and healthy. In return, they were rewarded with protection from harm and danger, as Zeus's presence imbued the cave with an aura of divine power. As Zeus grew, so too did the power within him. Though still a child, he was beginning to understand his unique position in the universe. He was not only the youngest of his siblings, but also the one chosen to challenge Cronus and restore balance to the cosmos. During these formative years, Zeus learned about the fate of his brothers and sisters, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, all of whom remained imprisoned within their father's belly. This knowledge fueled a deep resolve in the young god, a burning desire to free his siblings and avenge their suffering. But Zeus knew that he could not confront Cronus until he was fully grown and prepared for the monumental task ahead. The time for revenge would come, but until then, Zeus focused on gathering the wisdom and strength he would need for the inevitable confrontation. It wasn't long before Zeus's secret upbringing caught the attention of other divine beings. One of the most important of these was Metis, the goddess of wisdom and cunning, who had long foreseen that the young Zeus would play a crucial role in the future of the cosmos. Metis was known for her cleverness and her ability to outwit even the most powerful of gods, and it was her wisdom that would guide Zeus in the first steps of his rebellion. Metis approached Zeus, recognizing his potential and understanding the importance of his quest. She became his advisor and confidant, teaching him the art of strategy, foresight, and deception. It was Metis who devised the plan that would enable Zeus to free his siblings and prepare for the great war that would follow. Together, they plotted the downfall of Cronus, but they knew that it would take more than brute strength to defeat the Titan king. Metis's wisdom and Zeus's growing power would need to work in tandem to bring about the change that was prophesied. As Zeus reached adulthood, his strength and authority began to rival that of Cronus himself. He had matured into a powerful god, one whose very presence commanded respect and awe. But despite his newfound power, Zeus knew that Cronus was still the ruler of the cosmos, and that direct confrontation would be dangerous without a well-thought-out plan. The time had come for Zeus to act, but he would need Metis's cunning to ensure that his first move was successful. Metis instructed Zeus to approach Cronus in disguise, keeping his true identity hidden. Zeus, ever resourceful, followed her advice and sought out his father. Cronus, unaware that his youngest son stood before him, welcomed the disguised Zeus into his court, not realizing the danger he was in. Zeus, with Metis's help, offered Cronus a drink, a potion that Metis had carefully prepared. The potion was designed to force Cronus to vomit up the children he had swallowed so long ago, freeing Zeus's siblings from their imprisonment. Cronus, thinking nothing of it, accepted the drink. Moments later, he was overcome by a violent sickness. One by one, the fully grown gods, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, were regurgitated from Cronus's belly, each of them restored to their full strength and vitality. The joy of their release was tempered by the knowledge of the war that lay ahead. The newly freed Olympians, alongside Zeus, would now face the monumental task of overthrowing Cronus and the Titans who ruled the cosmos. With his siblings by his side, Zeus stood ready to challenge the Titans for control of the universe. The time had come to fulfill the prophecy and bring an end to the reign of Cronus. But the Titans were formidable opponents, and the war that was to follow, the Titanomachy, would shake the very foundations of the cosmos. In the hidden cave on Crete, Zeus had grown from a vulnerable infant into a powerful god. He had been guided by the wisdom of Metis and strengthened by the love of his protectors. Now, as he prepared to face his father, Zeus was no longer the child hidden away from danger. He was the leader of the Olympians, destined to reshape the cosmos and bring about a new order. Chapter 3. The Revolt of Zeus and the Olympians. With his siblings freed and by his side, Zeus knew the time had come to fulfill the prophecy and challenge the rule of his father, Cronus. But the task ahead was no small feat. The Titans, led by Cronus, had long reigned supreme over the cosmos, wielding unimaginable power and controlling the very forces of nature. To overthrow them, Zeus and the newly freed Olympians would need not only their own strength, but also powerful allies and a strategic plan. This chapter chronicles the early days of the Titanomachy, the great war between the Titans and the Olympians, and the gathering of forces that would decide the fate of the universe. The Olympians, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, having spent years trapped inside Cronus's body, emerged ready for battle but knew that Cronus would not relinquish his power easily. Cronus, furious at the betrayal, immediately rallied the Titans to defend his reign. The cosmos trembled with the onset of war, as the old gods, the Titans, prepared to face their own offspring in a struggle that would determine the future of creation. Zeus, knowing that brute force alone would not win the day, sought allies who could tip the balance of power in favor of the Olympians. His first act as the leader of the rebellion was to journey to the depths of Tartarus, the darkest and most treacherous part of the underworld. There, in the abyss, Cronus had imprisoned some of the most powerful beings in existence, his own brothers, the Cyclopes, and the Hecatonchires, the 100-handed giants. These beings had been cast into Tartarus by Cronus and Uranus long ago, and their hatred for the Titans ran deep. With the help of his brother Hades, who possessed an innate connection to the underworld, Zeus descended into Tartarus to find these mighty prisoners. The journey was perilous, as Tartarus was guarded by the most fearsome creatures in existence, but Zeus was determined. He knew that the strength of the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires would be crucial in the coming war. Upon reaching the depths of Tartarus, Zeus freed the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires from their chains. Grateful for their liberation, these ancient beings swore their loyalty to Zeus and the Olympians. The Cyclopes, master craftsmen, quickly set to work creating powerful weapons for the Olympian gods. For Zeus, they forged the thunderbolts, weapons of unparalleled power that could strike down any enemy. For Poseidon, they crafted a mighty trident, capable of shaking the seas and causing earthquakes. For Hades, they fashioned a helm of darkness, which granted its wearer the power of invisibility, allowing Hades to move unseen in battle. The Hecatonchires, with their 100 hands and immense strength, were equally formidable allies. Each of these giants possessed the ability to hurl massive boulders with unparalleled speed and force, making them invaluable in the battle against the Titans. With the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires now on their side, the Olympians were ready to confront Cronus and his forces. The war, known as the Titanomachy, began in earnest. It was a battle like no other, fought on a scale unimaginable to mortals. The earth shook, the skies darkened, and the seas roared as the two sides clashed. On one side stood the Olympians, led by Zeus, wielding the thunderbolts that could split mountains and scorch the heavens. On the other side were the Titans, ancient and powerful, each a force of nature in their own right. Cronus, though older and battle-hardened, was still a formidable opponent. He commanded the Titans with iron will, and they fought fiercely to defend their rule. Hyperion, the Titan of light, unleashed searing beams of energy, while Oceanus, the Titan of the sea, summoned great tidal waves to drown his enemies. The Titans fought not only with strength, but with the raw elemental power of the cosmos itself. The war raged on for 10 long years, with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. The battles were fought across the heavens and the earth, with both the Olympians and the Titans calling upon their respective powers to gain the upper hand. The Olympians, guided by Zeus's leadership and the wisdom of Metis, fought with cunning and precision, but the Titans were relentless, their experience and ancient strength giving them an edge in the early days of the conflict. But the tide of the war began to turn in favor of the Olympians. thanks in large part to the sheer power of the weapons forged by the Cyclopes and the overwhelming strength of the Hecatoncheiros. With a single throw of his thunderbolt, Zeus could shatter mountains, and with Poseidon's trident, entire oceans were stirred into violent storms. Hades, using his helm of darkness, moved unseen through the battlefield, striking down Titans with calculated precision. Despite their immense power, the Titans were gradually worn down by the unrelenting force of the Olympians and their allies. Cronus, seeing that his once unshakable rule was slipping from his grasp, grew increasingly desperate. He called upon every resource at his disposal, summoning the full might of the Titans. But even this was not enough to stop the Olympians' advance. In the final days of the war, the Hecatoncheiros played a decisive role. With their 100 hands, they hurled massive boulders at the Titans, burying them beneath mountains of stone. The battlefield became a place of chaos and destruction, with the earth itself torn apart by the ferocity of the conflict. As the Titans faltered, Zeus saw his opportunity. Gathering his strength, Zeus unleashed the full power of his thunderbolts in a final, cataclysmic strike against Cronus and the Titans. The sky itself seemed to shatter as lightning rained down upon the Titans, burning them with the force of the heavens. Cronus, weakened and overpowered, fell before Zeus, his reign brought to an end. The war was over. The Titans had been defeated, and the Olympians had claimed victory. Zeus, now the undisputed ruler of the cosmos, stood triumphant. But the victory came at a cost. The world had been scarred by the war, and the Titans, once powerful rulers, were cast down, their future uncertain. Many of the Titans, including Cronus, were imprisoned in Tartarus, bound in chains to prevent them from ever rising again. With the war won, Zeus turned his attention to the future. The old order had been destroyed, and it was time for the Olympians to establish their reign over the universe. But this was only the beginning. Zeus and his siblings would now take their places as the new gods of the cosmos, ruling from the heights of Mount Olympus. The Titanomachy had brought about a new age, one in which the Olympian gods would shape the fate of both gods and mortals. But even in victory, Zeus knew that the echoes of the past would linger, and the challenges of ruling the cosmos were only just beginning. Chapter 4. The Titanomachy, the War of the Gods. The Titanomachy, the great war between the Olympians and the Titans, was unlike any conflict the cosmos had ever witnessed. It spanned the heavens and the earth, with battles fought in both the skies and the deepest reaches of the underworld. This 10-year war would decide the fate of the universe, pitting the younger gods, the Olympians, against the older and more ancient Titans. It was a battle between the old world and the new, with the very fabric of existence at stake. At the heart of the conflict were the Olympian gods, led by Zeus, who had risen to free his siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, from their father Cronus's tyrannical rule. The Olympians, though powerful in their own right, were still a young generation of gods, not yet fully tested in battle. Opposing them were the Titans, the elder gods who had ruled the cosmos for eons. The Titans, led by Cronus, were embodiments of the primal forces of the universe, each a manifestation of an essential element of existence. The war began in earnest after Zeus and his siblings had gathered their forces. The Olympians had powerful allies, including the Cyclopes, the one-eyed giants who had forged Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades's helm of invisibility, and the Hecatoncheiros, the hundred-handed giants whose strength was unmatched. The Titans, however, were no less formidable. They counted among their number the likes of Oceanus, the god of the vast seas, Hyperion, the Titan of light, and Iapetus, the Titan of mortal life and death. The battlefields of the Titanomachy were the realms of the cosmos itself. Vast stretches of land and sea, mountains and valleys, and the very skies above. The Titans, ancient and mighty, called upon the raw forces of nature to defend their rule. Atlas, one of the most powerful of the Titans, held up the sky, ensuring the heavens did not collapse upon the earth, while Hyperion unleashed devastating rays of light that scorched the earth. The ocean roared under the command of Oceanus, who raised towering waves and stormy seas to drown the Olympians. Zeus, however, was a god of strategy and foresight. With the guidance of the wise Metis, he understood that brute strength alone would not win the war. Zeus unleashed his thunderbolts, each strike a flash of divine power that split the heavens and earth. The Olympians, though fewer in number, fought with a ferocity and determination that matched the Titans' ancient strength. Poseidon, with his trident, shook the seas and caused earthquakes, while Hades, with his helm of invisibility, moved through the shadows, striking down Titans without being seen. The Hecatonchires, with their 100 hands, hurled massive boulders with such force that the Titans were driven back. These giants became a critical force in the Olympians' strategy, using their overwhelming strength to crush the defenses of their enemies. The Cyclopes, meanwhile, continued to supply the Olympians with the weapons they needed to maintain their assault. The war raged on, with neither side gaining a definitive upper hand. As the years passed, the battlefields became littered with the remnants of the titanic conflict. Mountains were shattered, rivers changed their course, and the very landscape of the earth was transformed by the ferocity of the war. The Titans, who had once ruled over all creation, found themselves increasingly on the defensive. Though their power was immense, the relentless assault of the Olympians and their allies began to wear them down. In the midst of the conflict, Cronus, the leader of the Titans, became increasingly desperate. He had ruled the cosmos for eons, and the thought of losing his throne to the son he had tried so hard to suppress filled him with rage. Cronus, wielding the sickle he had once used to overthrow his own father, Uranus, led the Titans in a final, desperate push to turn the tide of the war. But Zeus was prepared. During the final great battle, the forces of the Olympians and the Titans clashed with unprecedented intensity. The skies darkened, the earth quaked, and the seas roared as both sides unleashed the full extent of their powers. Zeus, with his thunderbolts, struck down Titan after Titan, while Poseidon and Hades used their powers over the sea and the underworld to undermine the Titans' defenses. Hades, in particular, played a pivotal role, using his helm of invisibility to move unseen through the battlefield, delivering fatal blows to key Titans without them knowing the source of the attack. Cronus, sensing his defeat was near, attempted one final act of defiance. He raised his sickle and charged toward Zeus, intent on ending the war in a single blow. But Zeus, with the strength and power granted to him by the Cyclopes, struck Cronus with a thunderbolt so powerful that the very sky seemed to crack open. Cronus fell, his reign over the cosmos finally brought to an end. With the fall of Cronus, the other Titans were quickly overwhelmed. The war was over. The Olympians had won. In the aftermath of the Titanomachy, Zeus and his siblings stood victorious, but the cosmos had been forever changed by the conflict. The Titans, once the rulers of the universe, were cast down and imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest and darkest part of the underworld. There they would remain for eternity, guarded by the Hecaton Kyries, whose loyalty to Zeus was unshakable. Zeus, having fulfilled the prophecy and overthrown his father, was now the undisputed ruler of the cosmos. He ascended to Mount Olympus, where he established his divine throne. His siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, took their places alongside him, each granted dominion over a specific aspect of the world. Poseidon was given control of the seas, while Hades became the ruler of the underworld. Hera, Zeus's sister and wife, became the queen of the gods, while Hestia and Demeter took on their roles as goddesses of the hearth and agriculture, respectively. The Titanomachy had brought about the end of one era and the beginning of another. The reign of the Titans was over, and the age of the Olympian gods had begun. But though the Titans were defeated, their legacy would live on. Their offspring and their influence would continue to shape the world, even from their prison in Tartarus. As Zeus took his place as the ruler of the heavens, the earth, and all living beings, a new order was established. The Olympians would go on to become the gods of myth and legend, their stories told for generations to come. They had won the war, but their rule over the cosmos was only just beginning. Chapter 5. The Rise of Mount Olympus and the Fate of the Titans. With the defeat of the Titans in the Titanomachy, the cosmic order had been irrevocably altered. The Olympian gods, led by Zeus, now stood as the undisputed rulers of the universe. However, the end of the war was only the beginning of a new era, a time when the Olympians would establish their authority, reshape the heavens, and define the balance of power in the cosmos. This chapter delves into the aftermath of the Titanomachy, the establishment of Mount Olympus as the seat of the gods, and the fate of the Titans, now imprisoned in the depths of Tartarus. After the final battle of the Titanomachy, the Olympians surveyed the shattered world left in the wake of the war. The cosmos had been ravaged by years of conflict, with mountains torn asunder, rivers diverted, and the sky itself blackened by the fury of the battles. The Titans, once mighty rulers, had been overthrown, their power broken by the younger generation of gods. But for Zeus and his siblings, the task was far from over. The world needed to be restored, and a new order had to be established. The first act of the victorious Olympians was to determine the fate of the defeated Titans. Cronus, their father, had led the Titans in their bid to maintain power, and now, as a vanquished ruler, he was at the mercy of his children. Zeus, though ruthless in battle, was not without a sense of justice. He decreed that Cronus and the most rebellious Titans would be cast into Tartarus, the deepest and darkest part of the underworld, a prison where they would remain for all eternity. There they would be guarded by the Hecaton Kyries, the hundred-handed giants who had once been imprisoned by Cronus himself and now served as their jailers. Tartarus was not merely a dark pit, it was a realm of despair and punishment, a place where time seemed to stretch endlessly. The Titans were bound in chains forged from the very essence of the earth, their power stripped from them, leaving them to reflect on their fall from glory. Cronus, once the ruler of all existence, now sat in chains, his throne lost and his legacy tarnished. Other Titans, such as Hyperion and Iapetus, shared a similar fate, confined to Tartarus alongside their fallen king. But not all Titans faced such a harsh punishment. Some Titans had chosen to side with the Olympians during the war, and they were spared from the fate of their kin. Titans like Themis, the goddess of justice, and Prometheus, who would later play a key role in the fate of humanity, were allowed to retain their place in the cosmos, as they had seen the inevitability of the Olympians' rise and had chosen to support Zeus in the conflict. Their wisdom and foresight earned them a place in the new order that Zeus was about to create. With the Titans imprisoned and their rebellion crushed, Zeus and the Olympians turned their attention to the creation of their new dominion, Mount Olympus. This towering mountain, with its peak stretching into the heavens, would become the seat of the gods, their divine home, from which they would govern the universe. Mount Olympus was not just a physical location. It was a symbol of the Olympians' victory and their divine authority. From the lofty heights of Olympus, Zeus and his siblings could watch over both gods and mortals alike, ensuring that the balance of power in the cosmos remained in their hands. Zeus, as the ruler of the Olympians, took his place on the grand throne at the center of Mount Olympus, his authority established through his victory in the Titanomachy. His throne was made of gold, reflecting his status as the king of the gods, and from here he would issue his decrees, govern the universe, and maintain order. But Zeus was not a solitary ruler. He shared power with his siblings, each of whom took on important roles in the new cosmic order. Poseidon, the god of the sea, was granted dominion over all the oceans, rivers, and lakes. With his mighty trident, forged by the Cyclopes, Poseidon had the power to stir the seas and cause earthquakes. His realm extended across all the waters of the earth, and his authority was uncontested in his domain. Poseidon's throne on Olympus reflected his mastery of the oceans, and his influence was felt in every storm that swept across the seas. Hades, the god of the underworld, was given control over the realm of the dead. While he did not reside on Mount Olympus with his siblings, Hades was still a powerful and feared deity. His kingdom, located deep beneath the earth, was the final resting place for mortal souls. Hades ruled the underworld with a stern but just hand, ensuring that the dead remained in their place and that the natural order of life and death was maintained. His helm of invisibility, gifted to him by the Cyclopes, allowed him to move unseen both in the underworld and in the mortal realm. Hera, Zeus's sister and wife, took her place as the queen of the gods. She became the goddess of marriage and family, her influence extending over the domestic sphere and the lives of mortals. Hera's throne on Olympus was one of beauty and power, reflecting her status as the mother of gods and the protector of women. Though her relationship with Zeus was often strained by his infidelities, Hera's authority as queen was unquestioned, and she held a place of honor among the Olympians. Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, was granted control over the fertility of the earth and the growth of crops. She became the deity responsible for the seasons and the harvest, ensuring that mortals had food to sustain themselves. Demeter's influence extended over the cycle of life and death in nature, and her power was felt in every grain that grew and every flower that bloomed. Her throne on Olympus was surrounded by symbols of fertility and abundance, marking her as the giver of life to the mortal world. Finally, Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, took on the role of protector of the home and family. Her domain was the hearth fire, the center of domestic life for both gods and mortals. Hestia's presence on Mount Olympus was one of quiet strength, and while she did not seek power or glory, she was revered for her role in maintaining the peace and unity of the gods. Her influence was felt in every household, where the fire that burned in the hearth was a symbol of her protection. With the Olympians established as the new rulers of the cosmos, the world began to heal from the devastation of the Titanomachy. The scars of the war slowly faded, and the earth, sky, and sea returned to their natural order. Mortals, who had long suffered under the rule of the Titans, now looked to the Olympians for guidance and protection. The Olympians, from their thrones on Mount Olympus, watched over the world, ensuring that the balance of power remained in their hands. But even in their victory, the Olympians were not free from challenges. The prophecy that had shaped the fate of Uranus and Cronus would continue to echo through the generations. Though Zeus had overthrown his father and established a new order, he knew that his own rule was not guaranteed to last forever. The cycle of power, betrayal, and rebellion was as old as the cosmos itself, and the Olympians would have to remain vigilant if they were to maintain their grip on the universe. For now, however, the reign of the Olympians had begun. Mount Olympus stood as a beacon of divine authority, its peak reaching into the heavens, where the gods ruled over all. The Titans, defeated and imprisoned, had been consigned to the past, and a new age of gods had dawned. The story of the birth of the Olympian gods is one of power, betrayal, war, and ultimately the triumph of a new order over an old, decaying one. It is a tale deeply embedded in ancient Greek mythology, representing the eternal cycles of creation and destruction, authority and rebellion, that govern both gods and mortals alike. From the primordial chaos to the rise of Zeus and the Olympians, this myth speaks to the human understanding of the universe as a place governed by shifting forces and the unrelenting desire for balance. The myth begins with Gaia and Uranus, the primordial beings from whom the Titans were born. When Uranus was overthrown by his son Cronus, the first major shift in cosmic power took place. But Cronus, like his father before him, could not escape the prophecy that foretold his own downfall. Fearful of his fate, Cronus swallowed each of his children as they were born, hoping to thwart destiny. However, his youngest child, Zeus, was hidden by his mother, Rhea, and raised in secret on the island of Crete. Zeus grew into a powerful god, and with the guidance of the wise Metis, he freed his siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Poseidon, and Hades, from Cronus's stomach. Together, the Olympians declared war on Cronus and the Titans, leading to the Titanomachy, a great battle that lasted 10 years. Zeus gathered allies, including the Cyclopes and the Hecaton Chiras, whose strength and craftsmanship proved crucial to the Olympians' victory. Armed with thunderbolts, tridents, and invisibility helms, the Olympians overpowered the Titans, casting them into the abyss of Tartarus. With the Titans defeated and imprisoned, Zeus and his siblings established their new rule from the heights of Mount Olympus, creating a new era of divine governance over the cosmos. Zeus, as the king of the gods, ruled the skies and the heavens, while Poseidon controlled the seas, and Hades ruled the underworld. Hera, Demeter, and Hestia each took on important roles, governing aspects of life such as marriage, agriculture, and the hearth. From Mount Olympus, the Olympians watched over both gods and mortals, ensuring that the new order would be maintained. Yet, the story of the Olympians is not just about victory and dominance. It is also about the continuing cycle of power. Zeus, like Cronus and Uranus before him, would eventually face challenges to his rule, as foretold by the same cycles of prophecy and rebellion that had shaped the cosmos from the beginning. The myth of the birth of the Olympian gods, therefore, speaks to the inevitability of change, even among the divine, the enduring legacy of the Olympians. The birth of the Olympian gods is one of the most foundational myths in Greek mythology, serving as the origin story for the gods who would dominate the ancient Greek religious landscape. Their rise to power, particularly through the dramatic events of the Titanomachy, symbolized a new era of cosmic order, one in which the Olympians ruled from their thrones on Mount Olympus. Zeus, the youngest of the gods, and the one destined to overthrow his father, became the most powerful deity, symbolizing leadership, justice, and divine authority. Yet the myth also reminds us of the cyclical nature of power. Each generation of gods faced the threat of being overthrown, just as they themselves had done to their predecessors. This cycle reflects the ancient Greeks' understanding of the world, one of constant flux, where even the mightiest can fall, and where order must be continually maintained through wisdom, strength, and cunning. The Olympians' rise also highlights the relationships between the gods themselves, their alliances, rivalries, and struggles to maintain balance in the universe. The myth is filled with moments of heroism, strategy, and wisdom, particularly in Zeus's decision to free the Cyclopes and Hecaton Kairos, whose aid helped secure the Olympians' victory. The themes of family, loyalty, and betrayal run deep through the narrative, illustrating the complex dynamics that governed both divine and mortal affairs in ancient Greek thought. As the Olympian gods took their place on Mount Olympus, they became the rulers not just of the heavens, but also of the human world, shaping the fates of mortals and influencing every aspect of life. From Zeus's thunderbolts to Poseidon's control of the seas and Hades's dominion over the dead, the Olympians were inseparably linked to the elements and forces that governed the universe. In conclusion, the story of the birth of the Olympian gods is more than just a tale of divine power and rebellion. It is a reflection of the ancient Greek worldview, where change and conflict are constant, and where even the gods must navigate the complexities of power and prophecy. The legacy of Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, and the other Olympians would endure for centuries, shaping not only religious practices but also the literature, art, and philosophy of ancient Greece. Their myths, filled with both grandeur and tragedy, continue to captivate the imagination, reminding us of the timeless themes of power, destiny, and the forces that govern the cosmos.